Welcome in, everyone. I'm Lo, Senior DevRel here at Hygraph, and we're back for day 3 of the Hygraph Studio beta launch. And today is all about editor experience. So before we start things off, I usually like to start events with a question of the day. So today's question is, what's everyone's favorite drink? Put your answers in the chat. Me personally, my favorite drink has been and always probably will be is any type of tea. I love a hot cup of matcha or oolong tea or cold tea drinks like boba or iced tea. Ooh, a Negroni. Excellent. Fantastic. I see some Capri Sun, peppermint teas, coffee. Lemonade with mint and ginger. Delicious. Kahlua. Wow. These are all really good beverages. Awesome. I hope everyone's doing well. We have a great event planned for you today. It's been a fantastic launch so far. We've had a keynote where our Hygraph CEO Michael and our CPO Mario gave us their vision for the future of content and a peek into what's on the horizon for the composable landscape. Yesterday was all about developer experience, and we heard from Alexi and Fabian from the product team, as well as Romina from the developer relations team, about all the new features and improvements and documentation designed to improve developer productivity. Which brings me to today. We're going to take a closer look at the editor experience in the Hygraph Studio. The Hygraph Studio not only has a new look and feel, but there are many features aimed at creating a simple and enjoyable editor experience. I'm super excited to see the studio in action, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I have. As always, if you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat, and I will ask them during the Q&A immediately following the presentation. Also, please continue to leave your comments and feedback about the beta release in our community Slack at slack.hygraph.com in the hashtag studio-beta-feedback channel. We really want to hear from you, and your feedback will go a long way to helping ensure that the studio is the best it can possibly be. Thank you to all the community members who have given us fantastic feedback so far. It's really great to see the community come together. All right, so without further ado, we have an amazing speaker today to talk about the editor experience. Joining us is Daniil Tykheev, editor experience product manager here at Hygraph. He has a wealth of knowledge and has been working with content management for the majority of his career. First as a content editor, and then as a product manager. Daniil's overall goal is to make the life of an editor as easy as possible by keeping Hygraph simple and quick. Let's welcome Daniil. Hi, Daniil. How's it going?
Hello, everybody. Doing well, doing very well. How are you, Lo?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining us. I know it's pretty late where you are. But just so you're not off the hook, I want to know what your favorite drink is too. So what's your favorite drink, Daniil?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, for me, it's a great question because I guess for the past year, almost actually more than a year, my favorite drink is 100% the yerba mate, which is that South American, I don't know, is it a tea? Is it something else? Anyway, an infusion of sorts that I personally completely replaced coffee with it, and I enjoy every morning when I have a chance to drink my mate.
Awesome. I first had that when I lived in Brazil for a little bit. It's delicious and it does have a lot of caffeine and it's great. So that's really cool.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So you ready to get started?
Absolutely. Born ready. Let's do it.
Excellent. All right. I'll see you soon. Take it away, Daniil.
Perfect. All right. So welcome everybody. Super happy to be here. Super happy to have everybody in here. Studio. Editor experience simplified. Let's go. So we have a very, very short agenda today. Really just 3 steps. We're going to have a quick demo overview before we jump into point number 2, most important thing, which is the walkthrough. Everybody cares about the product, right? Not about the slides. So we're going to have the walkthrough, and then we're going to have a quick look at what's actually in the beta, because yes, the app is released, but it's still in beta. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what's next. Speaking of the overview, so we are basically going to have three main pillars, three main parts of the presentation of the walkthrough. We're going to talk about the content table, how it is new, how it is simpler and faster. Also, some new little changes that we made to the content table. We're going to talk about the content form, how also we made it faster and simpler, together with the main feature, I would say, that we've added, which is the field outline so far, right? And we're also going to finish it up with some quality of life improvements for the related content. And with that, I am ready for the walkthrough, to start the walkthrough. Let's quickly put it up on the screen right there. So before we jump into the actual product walkthrough, for some context, I'm building here an app. It's a test app, obviously, for now. Maybe later I'll connect some front end to it, but it's just a project for this demo. But still, I thought it would be great to have some context, some theme for the app. And what I'm building here is a little product for football fans to get all their statistics about, I don't know, teams, players, stadiums, referees, and so on. And yeah, this is basically what this project is about. Also, with some news article and match reports for the fans to follow their favorite football teams. So what I'm going to start with is this competition table. And the reason why I opened that is because we are going to talk about the default views, the new unmodified default views. So what you're looking at right now is basically our view, our opinion on what a good default view is for the user for now, starting from now, because if we look at the classic app, we can see that it's quite different, especially in this part, right? It has a lot of content, a lot of fields, a lot of just text and different elements. We really want to over sort of emphasize the simplicity part, and we want the user to focus on what is the most essential, which obviously is the title field. So we think that the title field should take the biggest part of the screen, with some additional stages, and updated by system fields on the site. I have to mention that, first of all, you are going to be totally able to add everything that you want and reorder the columns as you want here in the menu that everybody's familiar with, I assume. And secondly, this is the unmodified default views. So all of your custom views, all of your default views that you've changed when you added columns to them, when you, I don't know, reordered them a little bit, everything is going to stay exactly the way it is. We're not messing up your workflows. It's only for the new unmodified default views. That's not just the only thing that we did on the content table. Obviously, we have some visual changes here. So, for example, this menu, this action menu, that will have more actions as we go along with the beta. It got moved to this little menu right here, which is way more minimal than the current colorful one right there. With that, I'm also going to move to the custom views, where I've added some filters. And the filters and this whole sort of search and filtering part of the app, it also got some visual changes that you can see. In the classic app, we have a lot going on, a lot of colors, a lot of shades. And yeah, here we're just trying to make it a little bit more concise, a little bit, just easy on the eye, kind of. But that's not the only thing we did with filters, because filters now have this very nice little menu with a search bar. Well, this might not be the best example, but if you have like 100 fields and you want to filter by one of them, obviously it's very much easier if you can sort. Oh, sorry, if you can search and an alphabetically sorted list of fields. So in that case, let's say I'm going to add draft or published, and I'm not going to find anything here because obviously that item was in draft. Moving on to the main view here in this project, which is the news articles view, where I'm filtering by the tag that says news. And we can quickly run through the other updates we made to the content table. So probably my personal favorite is this, the hover states for the text fields that are not fully visible on the content table. In the classic app, as you can see, if you have a title that kind of flows over the different field, you don't really have any choice, but you have to resize every field, right, to see the content. We decided that's not super user friendly, so we're adding this hover state to keep it short, keep it simple, keep it very quick for the user to quickly look up what is actually in that field. Some dialogues made the pop-up dialogues. We've made some, just visual changes to make them a little bit more also concise. And what I also like is this new images preview. As you can see here, you can just kind of scroll or click through those images very nicely, because in the old app, if you wanted to have a close look at at an image, you have to open them one by one. Basically, our idea is save user click in every place where we can. So, and I think this is a good example of that. Now we are ready to move on to the content form itself. And the content form also got more lightweight. We can also have a quick comparison here. We have some, a lot of things are going on here in the classic app. In the studio, what the approach that we try to take is to sort of only keep the essential things on the screen. So, for example, we hide in some buttons behind the hover state of the element. We've removed some elements that we thought were not absolutely essential for the user experience. And it just kind of looks a little bit more cleaner at the moment. And the next thing on the content forum that I want to draw your attention to is the components section, right? And here, the main change, the most important update that we made is actually a behind the scenes one, under the hood update. And what happens now is we're loading components lazily. So it's the lazy loading approach to that part of the app. Or in other words, we're loading components on demand, right? So the idea here is that when you first load your content entry, when you first open it, you don't really need all of your components, right? Especially for speaking of those cases when they're like, I don't know, 30, 40 components, and then each of them has some nested stuff in it. Obviously, you don't need it all the time to work with all of that content. So we're going to load components on demand like this. So for example, those components below, they were not loaded before I've clicked on this button. What does it allow us to do is it allows us to have the initial load of the content entry make it way faster. So reduce the waiting time to the minimum, and also to make just the whole experience with the content form also feel more sort of snappier, feel quicker when you also have a lot of components in your content form. So yeah, that's basically it for the most important part of the component update. But we also made some user experience updates. For example, with the button that allows you to add components, we also have the search bar. So the same thing that we saw with filters. There's also search bar. The components are now sorted alphabetically. All of those small quality of life improvements were also added already in the studio, and obviously we have a lot more planned for later smaller releases. And the next thing, which is I think in general, people who build schemas, they know that components and relations, there's always this choice between, right, what do I choose, a component or a relation here? So I think it's a very fitting next step for us to quickly look at the related info. field right here, which is a relational field. And yeah, again, design updates, right? It's way more concise, way more sort of, just minimal looking. But my personal favorite here when it comes to relations is definitely this counter. So again, it's supposed to help people who have a lot of content, very heavy content models. If you have let's say 30 content entries linked in your reference field, and you really want to know, right, how many there are, it should be 30, not 29, not 31. At the moment, you just count it probably, but of course, it's way easier if you can just look it up like this. So to do that, just hover over the relational field and you'll see the number. We are going to continue talking about relations very soon when I talk a little bit about how we're going to move between one overlay to the other. But before that, let's address the elephant in the room, obviously, which is the field outline. I also heard some users already calling it different names, like field, I don't know, field tree. I think somebody said field tree. I don't know. Maybe we should think about a different name. If you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments or in the community. I'll be happy to hear that. But yes, the field outline. So the field outline, what does it allow you to do? First of all, it allows you to navigate around your content entry like that very quickly, very easily. But most importantly, it allows you to also see your full nested structure of your entry basically on, well, in my case, it's literally on one screen. So I don't have to do all of that scrolling, especially if I expand all of those components. You'll see I'll do a lot of scrolling on the actual content form, while in the field outline, I really see everything immediately, and I can jump, for example, to that part of the component or this one, and then also obviously see where I am thanks to that hover state that allows me to see that, okay, all right, so this is exactly that, well, context details field, right, and not the other one in the component above. Which, yeah, our idea, our understanding is that it should help people who are dealing with hugely like a huge content entries, huge schemas, and a lot of nested content to just operate to get around the content entries quicker. That is the field outline. And by the way, I'm remembering one thing that I forgot to share is the a small update, but to me, I think it's a very good one, actually, and also shows our focus on simplicity, which is the date field. So the date field now has a different date field, and the date time field, as we can see here, has a different picker, because the one in the classic app is undoubtedly very fancy, very nice looking, but well, some could say a little bit over the top, right? Especially with this clock right here. Yeah, we're moving towards something that people are familiar with, something that's simple, easy to use, and yeah. This is in one of the illustrations, one of many illustrations that. Now we've made already, kind of as a little segue to the next, to the last actually section of this content entry presentation. So we've made some changes to this entry, right? So this button is now active. I can save some changes to my entry. But before I want to do that, I actually want to create an author, because the author field is empty, as you can see. I don't have any authors here, I think. Yeah. So I need to create a new one. So I'm going to click here. And as you can see, what happens, I am not prompted to save the changes that I made before in that entry. So what happens is that we preserve the state of your entry, right there, so that we can move to all kinds of, nested structures. You can create a child of a child, a child of a child of a child, and so on, without being interrupted. And yeah, well, again, like I said at the beginning, it's a quality of life improvement, right? But one that could go a long way, especially if you have a very deep nested structures. But for now, I'll add myself. Not the most modest way maybe for that presentation, but still, I'll add myself as the author of that content entry, save, and we are good to go. That was pretty much it. Let me quickly check my notes. I think I haven't forgotten anything. Yes, perfect. That is it for the content form and just the content editing updates in general. And yeah, let's move on to the next slide that we have right here, which talks about what is in beta and what is next. So, like I mentioned at the beginning, right, the app is fully released, available for every user of every kind of project, but still it is a beta version. So it doesn't have the full capabilities of the classic Hygraph app. And what exactly is that? The beta currently has the must-have CMS capabilities, at least the way we see it, right? And what it means is that you can create, edit, publish, delete, let's say, the majority of your content. And what I mean by that is that you can edit the non-localized fields, non-localized content entries, and the default localization. So for example, if you have English as your default locale, and then you have French, Spanish, I don't know, Portuguese, what you would need to do is what you can do is go to Studio, create the entry in English in Studio, and then immediately switch to Classic and add the localizations there. The apps are obviously in sync. Absolutely, it's still the same content, is still the same database. So just the two different UIs interacting with. So but localizations obviously are this is the feature that is 100% our next big focus, and I hope we're going to be rolling it out soon. The other thing that is important to mention about the beta, yes, it has the field outline, the new feature that we're really excited about, and we really want you guys to use and share feedback about. And then when it comes to the general release, yes, it will have all of the features that are currently available in Classic, including, like I said, localizations, schedule publishing, version comparison, comments, notifications. But also we are going to continue sprinkling in some more exciting new features. For example, the grid view for assets. This feature would allow you to just see the thumbnails of your assets in a more sort of in a bigger format and a more user-friendly way. And you know how they say it, more things to come. This is exactly what's happening here. And there's a link to the Studio Docs where you can really dive deep into what is in the studio, what is not in the studio beta yet. But just want to ensure that we are in the engineering front. We're working really hard to make all the features and new features available as soon as possible. The last thing that I want to leave you guys with is that, yes, feedback. Feedback is, well, is there any other purpose of the beta than to get quality, all kinds of feedback, actually. So please, we really, really want to hear from you in our community, in the Studio Beta feedback channel, or I don't know, you can contact the support, our support people from the app itself. If you have my email or my Slack, please send me, I don't know, you can send me a DM. I am very, very happy to chat in any way, shape, or form about the studio. Thank you. That is it for the presentation.
Excellent.
Over
Thank
to
you
you, Mel.
so much. Hey, that was fantastic. One thing that I wanted to just talk about quickly from the demo is the content table and the content view that you showed initially. I think it is really cool that we're starting from sort of a base. This is the base, and then you can add on versus having a bunch of things and then having to deselect in what you want. So can you talk a little bit about maybe like the line of thinking around that choice?
Sure. We can put it up on the screen maybe as well, if it's still possible. I'm just going to start with the answer. So, the content table. I think here this is also a really good example of us on the content editing side, just trying to simplify things. Right. Obviously, it's important to simplify things without losing the essence, the most important thing, but yeah, it was basically the guiding principle for a lot of things that we did, and for the content table in particular. And I think I hope it was a great illustration when you switch from one default view to the other. That and I hope that our idea to bring the focus to the most important part of the content entry will work. And yeah, I guess it's also important to mention, obviously, that it's not just random ideas that product team had in mind. We saw a lot of users actually doing exactly that with the classic app, right? They just had to go through a lot of clicking, like, okay, remove that column, I remove that column, then save that view and or update that view. So a lot of friction. So what we try to do is remove that friction and kind of take out the legwork for the user from that part of the experience.
Awesome. So we're gonna start the Q&A now. Our first question we have is from Mario, and Mario asks, so can users switch between Classic and Studio at any time? How will it impact a bigger team working on a project?
Sure, great question. Yeah, especially a good one for the beta phase, right?
Yes.
So the users can switch between Classic and Studio at any time. That is actually, full stop. That is absolutely possible. There are actually different ways to do it. What I do, for example, myself, as I click on my profile icon, and there's this little button that says Switch to Studio, that or switch to Classic depending on where you are, that opens the other app in the next tab. And in terms of the impact on the bigger teams working on the project, well, that was our number one priority, I think, in terms of just reliability, to keep it as seamless, as safe, as just unnoticeable as possible. So you wouldn't know that your colleague is working, which is, as I'm saying it, I don't know if it's good. If it's a good thing for admins, but I think for editors, that's I'm focusing on editors. So ask
Right.
other people about admins. But for editors, yeah, they wouldn't know about Studio, about Classic. It's the same thing, basically.
Right. So let's see. We have another question. One thing in particular that I know is a brand new addition is the field outline. And I think that is, it looks really cool. And I can see where that can be super helpful as you're sort of navigating quickly through a form, particularly if you're having to go in and change something that's already existing, right? And you just want to go to that particular place and do that. Can you talk a little bit about why adding the field outline was important for users, and what was your thinking around that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it all really comes from our experience with users. We really try to be, it's very much a product management cliche, but we really want to be very, very close to our users, and we really try to live by that. And we had several hours, well, more than that, tens of hours of calls with users. And thank you,
Yeah.
everybody. If there's somebody on the call who I had a user research call with, thank you so much for doing that. This is incredibly helpful. And your input is really the reason why the field outline is right there. Because what we saw in a lot of cases is that it's very, very easy for people to lose context when they're editing like a huge, huge form, especially with, for example, with components, right? Where we saw a very common use case is that you have a huge component field with
Right.
identical components, right? They're the same, I don't know, sections of a landing page. And when you are in section 7, it's a bit hard to say if you're in section 7 or it's section 25 or whatever. So field outline is there exactly to help you with that, to understand where you are in your content form, and then quickly jump to the place where you want to be, or at least just have the peace of mind that, okay, I'm editing the right thing, and it's all good.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's see. So Brian asks, you mentioned how fast the component change makes large content models. How much faster?
Yes, that's there's a question on everybody's mind, right? The actual answer to that is, the nature of I know it would be cool to just give, spit out a number. I would love to do, but it's actually true what I'm about to say, and is that the beauty and sometimes a tricky thing, especially for us internally, about the Hygraph product in general, is that people can build many different things, a lot of them, and very different. So something, a large content model, even large content models can be very different. Some can heavily use relations inside components, which make the whole thing kind of bulkier and in one way. Then other people can just fully rely on components, and that's a bit of a different situation. So for everybody, it's going to be, they're going to have different starting points where they're coming from to judge the performance improvements. So I will just try to jump out of that question and shift the responsibility to the users. So please tell us if it is it faster? First of all, is it faster Boolean? Yes or no? Is it faster or not? And if it hopefully is, I'm pretty sure it is. Please tell us how noticeable it was. Thank you, Brian, for the question. By the way, it really caught me there off guard. Perfect.
You handled it well.
Thank you.
So next question is Tim asked, what types of things can you do with the Command K feature?
The Command K feature, great question. So for I'll answer again from my perspective, right? Because focus on the editor. So for editors, I think the great thing is that you can really, again, it's kind of, in that regard, it's kind of similar to field outline, but like you can really quickly jump to the place um, in your project that you want. This is, for example, especially helpful for folks who are working with a lot of different models, or a lot of different views at the same time. We saw some customers, they shared with us examples of their project, and they have like hundreds of different views, each of which has a certain purpose. And there's a lot of scrolling, there's a lot of trying to find the exact view, but usually you remember or at least you have an idea of what you want, so you can quickly call up the cmd plus k menu and just type it there and get some potential results of what you want to be, and navigate through app like that. So to me, that's the one of the great use cases for editors for that feature.
Yeah, and I know me personally, like when I'm doing content related things, I actually just prefer to navigate throughout the content form or wherever, if I'm working in something else with the keyboard, right? And I just find like stuff like being able to use things like Command K really speeds up the process when you can just go quickly, type the thing you want, and immediately press enter and go, and then go right at it and get right to writing.
Well, Lo, you're kind of bringing the developer habits into our
Yeah.
content editing. Well, personally, when I was an editor, I had no idea of, I don't know, a command tab shortcut. I was just doing everything with mouse. So it's different people, different opinions, but I can totally feel you. For me, yeah, right now the keyboard navigation is key.
But
There we
bum
go.
bum.
Nice. Sorry
Anyway,
about that. Really sorry about that.
no,
It's
I love it. I
We'll
love
cut it
it.
out. Yeah.
We'll edit it in post. Um, Another question from Brian. If you could have a non-power user use one new feature, what new feature would you want them to try?
Non-power user. New feature. Let me see. Okay, so I will try to be not super just no, not a cliche, but I mean, we talked about field outline enough, right? I think that is a good. There was a good candidate, but not anymore. I don't know. I would really love this person just to kind of go through the content form and maybe even like the basic interactions, because kudos to our design team. The guys did an really incredible job of kind of cleaning up some of the things. We on the engineering side, we're still yet to implement all of that beauty, but I think it's already there. Like you can, you go through just simple fields, you click in and out, choose different things, and it just feels nice. That is my experience with the tool, with the new app for now. So I guess that would be sort of an answer to that question. Thank you.
Excellent. Do we have any more questions? Let's see. Oh, we do. The long one. So Brian asks, we talked a little bit about the enumerations change yesterday in the chat for the DX presentation, but I think it's super cool for how devs and editors work together. Can you talk a little bit about that update and also what sorts of things we can think about as both a dev product and as an editor product?
Yes. Can we keep that? Can we keep that on the screen, please?
Yeah.
Because all right. So the just a comment on the enumeration. Yeah, a long time coming, obviously, right? Just yeah, I know everybody is everybody who's using the product very excited about that. Yeah, it's great. It's finally there. It's amazing. Can you talk a little about that update and also what sort of things we think about as both a dev product and the editor product? That is an incredible question to answer in a blog post on a live demo. Also a great question. No doubt about that. Looking at the app, I definitely feel like the filters. So the first thing really that comes to mind when we talk about something kind of in the middle between dev and developer and editor experience is the filters, and we actually have some interesting ideas of how we can kind of even make it even more apparent that it's something that is there for the collaboration. But for now, the quite often what we see customers do is that developers they at least help or they pre-create different content views for editors, and usually those content views have different filters, right? Because if you just have sort of raw content, sometimes it's too much. Sometimes it could be 30, 40, 50K entries, and there's just too much to handle for anyone. So filters come in handy, really. And we see that developers are using filters a lot to create those content views, but we also want to make it so that editors can also feel and use the sort of the full power of the filtering, because you can actually do a lot of things with filters. You can filter by stage, you can filter by some regular stuff like the text fields or boolean fields or enumerations or whatever, but also you can filter by a field in a referenced entry. So for example, I created an article that had a reference to the author. So in the article view, I can actually create a filter for the author, like using the author model. So basically, it would be something like, give me all of the articles where the author is, I don't know, from the football department or something like that. That is possible. And maybe sometimes there needs to be some collaboration to see what is the best way to leverage the schema that was built in a certain way by the developer and the content needs that the editor has. So I don't know. Maybe it's some food for thought, I hope, for some folks.
Yes. I think that might be all of our questions.
Perfect.
Unless, let me check the chat one more time. Yep, I think that's it. Well, thank you, Daniil. Thank you so much for the demo and for talking with everyone. I'm super excited for the beta that's out now and what's to come. Thanks again, everyone, for coming. We will see you next week. There is an asset management workshop led by Tim. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be great. He's going to walk through and talk about all the great new things going on in the new asset management system. And then after that, the following day, we're going to end things off. We're going to end our lunch event with a fantastic panel discussion about peak performance. So you don't want to miss that either. And again, join us on Slack. Give us feedback about this beta. You can find us again on slack.hygraph.com in the studio beta feedback channel. The studio docs and a bunch of other information is pinned at the top of the feedback channel once you get in there. So feel free to read the new studio docs and take a look and try it out. If you haven't tried Hygraph, sign up for an account. You can go to hygraph.com and do that, and check it out and let us know what you think. All right. Thanks so much, everyone. I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.